We're talking about an applicant who not only got into the University of Washington School of Communication, but also managed to graduate in 4 years with a Bachelor of Arts. This kid's only 22, but according to his resume, he already has experience in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. We're really going to have to move fast to get this guy.
Bradshaw went on to say that company heads could barely believe the candidate had 2 years of experience working at his college newspaper and had even taken a full 4 years of high school Spanish. Since receiving the application, Bradshaw claims the company has made numerous attempts to reach Wilhelm.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here. The number's 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We're kicking off another Saturday episode. We're here live, as we always are. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
That's silly noise came from Captain Kickass. So welcome to another episode. As Captain, you and I just got back from a long day out at Central Square here in Keene, New Hampshire.
Oh, I love the smell of a protest in the afternoon.
It was. Technically, it started at 11 in the morning and went till about 4 o'clock today.
Yeah.
So fairly lengthy time frame for a protest.
Yeah, I'd just like to say anybody out there that's scheduling protests that I might be interested in attending in the future, could you make them start like, I
Later.
don't know, like the crack of noon at the earliest? It's pretty unlibertarian to start a protest that early.
Especially after Friday night.
Especially after Friday night
here in
adventures
Keene, where
until 2 in the morning.
Yeah, we're partying out in Central Square every Friday night, protesting the governor's stay-at-home orders, which we've been now doing for 21 weeks.
22.
Well, you're counting the first day as the first week, even though it was...
You start at 1. You don't start at 0.
You start at 0.
If I go buy a 6-pack of beer, you don't go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it depends.
You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bro.
So anyway, but yeah, whether it was week 22 or 21, it's been several months now.
There have been 22 times I have participated in said event.
Yep. So that's been going on for a long time, and we've been relatively unmolested. The protest was pretty calm today. Even though there was some masked people that were around, there was like the peace vigil that happens at Central Square. Keene, by the way, is where we're at. It's the southwest corner of New Hampshire. They've had like a 30-year-long weekly peace vigil that's gone on in the Central Square at downtown Keene for a long time. I think since the mid-'80s, and at least. And so, of course, those guys were out there, and I think almost all of them were masked up because they tend to be lefties at the peace vigil, but not always. Sometimes the libertarians are out there with them, and so there was some sort of built-in opposition, right? Because the peace vigil guys are there at like 10 a.m., and the mask protest was supposed to start at 11 a.m., and the peace vigil people usually are there until about noon. So we already had sort of our built-in counter-protesters. They didn't have to make a special trip out. I think their numbers were a little larger this week than some of the weeks I've seen them there.
That's an efficient protest in that respect.
What do you mean?
When you get both the protesters and the counter-protesters, like, you know, in a combo meal platter.
Yeah, they didn't really, like, cross over too much into our area. There was one guy that came through, and he was obviously angry. He had a couple of dogs. He drove around yelling at us or whatever.
Yeah, we had some drive-by shouting.
Yeah, most of the drive-byers, of course, won't stop. But this guy actually did, like, stop and get out and walk his dog through the park and just was obviously upset, but didn't really cause a huge scene or anything like that. So the whole point of this event...
So is there some upset that you're protesting or upset that you're not wearing a mask?
Probably all of the above.
Okay,
I mean he had Biden stickers all over, so he was...
I know there's a lot of people out there that believe that somehow wearing a mask is going to get Joe Biden elected, and I just don't think that's going to happen. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, if you have another one, it's 855-450-3733. Call in with it.
So there were actually 2 protests in New Hampshire today. 2, let's call them mask freedom events. I don't know exactly what the organizers were terming them, but there was one in Concord this morning at the State House, and there was
a friend of mine went to that.
There was one here in Keene as well, and from what I was told, they were about the same size. So relatively short notice on these things. I think the Keene one was organized for less, or maybe just over a week or something like that, week and a half, and the Concord one popped up relatively quickly. So people are upset about these mask mandates.
I was pleasantly surprised and in ways somewhat relieved at the number of normal faces that turned out
Oh,
for
yeah.
the event today. And that's one of the phrases that I'm hoping to begin to use far more frequently is normal face. As a jokester, a parody-ish guy, I like to make fun of things, and it's really easy to make fun of the face diaper and use the term face diaper, but it's got a negative connotation to it, right? And so I would like to just sort of have a bit more positive terminology, and also, kind of instill into people that normal face is the default state, right? It's not normal to be wearing the mask all of the time, everywhere you go, no matter what you do. It's also not normal to force other people to wear it just because it's your preference. So,
this is actually happening at the transfer station.
That's the dump.
Yeah, at the dump at my town, and they're forcing the employees to wear masks outside, and presumably everybody who comes and dumps their trash outdoors. I mean, nothing about getting within 6 feet of people, nothing about being indoors, none of these things. Look, if you're not within 6 feet of people and you're outside, I'm sorry, the risk of transmission is mitigable. I mean, nobody here's in a nursing home.
So normal face is the phrase that I'd like to just sort of hit out of the ballpark there
to combat the whole new normal thing.
Yeah, because for a while, I'd go about my business in town and at stores and that kind of a thing, and it just seemed like an uphill battle. You wouldn't see very many normal faced people, but when I sort of took on this normal face phrasing, I would see folks without a mask and just say, "Hey, normal face, good to see you," right? And they, "Hey, normal face," right? You get that kind of normal face thing going back and
forth. Trying to make it work, yeah.
And you say it loud enough so that the people who aren't normal face can hear you,
yeah.
Right? And
that's an interesting approach too, Captain, because the mask people have been complimenting each other on their masks, right? So it's something for them to talk. Oh, I love your mask.
Fashion has taken over. You can get custom masks. You can get masks with like band logos and stuff like that.
Creative.
Yeah.
So actually acknowledging that somebody is normal face. Hey, normal face,
right?
Or whatever.
Like, hey, thanks for
the normal face. Yeah,
regular.
I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't say those exact words, but I did compliment an elderly gentleman. I was in Hillsborough, which was a little town in New Hampshire, yesterday, and I was at the Family Dollar. I had to go to the bathroom, and I know that this particular store has a bathroom they will let customers use, because that's one of the things that's actually been a lot harder in recent months. Is actually you go into a place and they're like, "Nope, sorry." Whereas they had a bathroom before, like there was a Chick-fil-A in Nashua, and I walked in there and they're like, "Nope, you can't go in, can't use the bathroom."
Oh. I mean, usually it's like considerate to like purchase something before you do that.
I got no problem doing that, right? Like that's what I would do.
Except for Taco Bell.
I had purchased things actually.
I figure with Taco Bell they owe you one, so you can you should be able to just go in and use Taco Bell's bathroom whenever.
But yeah, I had purchased something and I couldn't use the bathroom. They just weren't open to customers. So, but I knew that there was one there, and as I'm walking around the store, I saw another guy with no mask on in the store. And again, it's supposedly a masks required store. There's a big sign on the door as you're going in. And as we were both outside, I just said, "Hey, thanks, man. I just want to say it was nice to see somebody with like a face that I could see. So appreciate you."
Yeah.
And he appreciated that. So our toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. We had a successful event today. There's a little bit more to say about it. I think we can tell you a little bit more about it. And maybe, is there anything like this happening in your area? Are there mask freedom events where you live, like in some of the states where there are mask mandates? Are people pushing back against that?
Lord knows we'd never know. The press would never tell us.
Well, luckily the media was at this particular event. We weren't.
I saw one guy with a camera and a mask. I figured he was media.
He was.
A bunch of drunken heathens came out to Central Square today in Keene, New Hampshire.
I have their report. Actually, we can share that coming up here. But first, we go to the phones, and Graham in Pennsylvania is first up, watching on YouTube. Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah, speaking of the the face mandate thing.
Yes, sir.
Earlier today, I went to a public event that was called Breakfast with an Officer. It was basically a PR public event the local police had after all the anti-police protests and that type of stuff.
Yep.
It's where the local police had a big event. It was mostly like kids. I didn't even know it was even going on. I just walked by and they offered me some food. They had like dozens and dozens of little kids. Some of them had masks. Not all of them did. A lot of them kept taking them off. The cops had masks. It was a public relations event. The cops were taking their masks off, putting them back on, dancing with the kids, giving them hugs, that type of stuff. everyone kept taking their masks on and off, and they keep saying socially distanced and all this other stuff. The local media was there. They had masks on. They were taking their masks off and talking to random people.
Was it all outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like everyone was like right next to each other.
I want to hear a little bit more about this event. I've heard of these events. Usually they happen in like a coffee shop or whatever, but I guess probably most of those are closed to the public in a lot of places.
Bring those big thermos pumps.
855, 450 free. They're basically propaganda events to try to make the cops look more human, more normal. It's Free Talk Live.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany, but when we adopted April, she started scratching like crazy. I said, what you put into a dog is what you get out. DINOVITE.com. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in her bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. Her coat is now soft, it's silky. Dinovite is nutrition.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. DIVI project.org.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. Tonight in the studio with you, it's Ian,
the captain,
and Mark.
And Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. Time to start learning about cryptocurrency. It's never too late. Certainly not too late right now. It's only about the first decade into the world of crypto.
It's still early in that respect.
It is. So you're not too late. Get on over to Bitcoin.com. They got a nice little get started area where you can learn some of the basics about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and cryptocurrency in general. And you can do that over at Bitcoin.com. There's a lot of great free features at Bitcoin.com. You can also buy Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash through the site. And there's a great news area where you can get the latest news headlines from the world of crypto at news.bitcoin.com. So be sure you check that out too. Again, it's bitcoin.com. We go back to your phone calls and thoughts. Graham was telling us about an event he stumbled into there in Erie, Pennsylvania, where they were having one of these coffee with a cop or breakfast with a cop events. And these have been going on in some cities for some amount of time. They're essentially propaganda events to humanize the police. And that's, I guess, something they feel they need because, well, the police are in a lot of cases seen as these sort of automatons who just mindlessly enforce the law and hurt people in the process. And, you know, so many people know someone who's had their life ruined by criminal charges brought against them for things like victimless crimes. So they try to have the police like out there to where people can talk to them and you know, again, have coffee or breakfast or something. Graham, you were telling us about your experience there, observing all these participants with masks, but then taking them on or like taking them off and then putting them back on. And I'm not sure where you're going with what you're telling us. So go ahead. Graham, in Pennsylvania?
Can you hear me?
We have you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, my state, my county has really strict social distancing rules. And basically, at this event, because like it was a government propaganda event, they basically ignored the whole thing after they tell everyone else that, you know, if you go to the pharmacy, you have to follow the rules. You can't go to the pharmacy. But this one event, everyone completely ignored it for government propaganda.
Good enough for thee, but not good enough for me.
Right. Yep. Two sets of rules.
Yeah.
Seen that recently with some police, like not wearing masks.
Oh, last night, you mean?
Well, look, you know, if they don't want to wear, I don't want to wear masks either. I support them not doing it.
I'm fine with them not wearing it.
And in a lot of cases,
but they're the ones who are going to be enforcing the mask rules.
That's what you hope.
No, I don't want them to enforce the mask rules.
The thing is that in many cases, these government officials, the politicians, are actually having the businesses enforce the rules and turning them into unfunded these unfunded mandates that turn them into unpaid enforcers.
Right, but it's the police who will be threatening the businesses if they don't do that. That's what's happening.
It's probably going to be government agents in plain clothes that are coming in and saying, "Hey, we're going to pull your licenses."
They
and
have
stuff
sent the health department down to one of the convenience stores here in town, but also the police have been called multiple times on them.
Okay,
in just the last few days. Graham, what else? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, also at the event, there were about 5 or 6 local police officers, and even while they were playing and having fun with the kids, the cops all still had their loaded guns on their holsters.
Well, I mean, it's probably not going to go off because it's in a holster.
Especially these new holsters.
Oh, yeah.
They're really difficult to get like the gun out of. You got to kind of know the tricks to get it out, and the trigger's covered, so they're about as safe as they can get.
There's a good chance the safety is on, and again, it's in a holster, so that's probably not a problem. But Grant, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. We go to New Jersey, where James is on the line watching on YouTube. Go ahead, James.
Hello?
Hey, you're on the air.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I'm autistic. Okay. The masks. You know how people are wearing masks and they say that it's mandatory, like, everywhere?
Well, I mean, you're in New Jersey, so that's probably the case there. But here, thank goodness, it is not that way in New Hampshire. But yes, we've heard those stories. What about it?
Yes. Well, I say screw the mask because I feel like they're not even helping. I feel like when we're wearing the mask, our own breath is going on the mask and coming back in our air, in our mouth. So it's like it's not releasing the air that we need, you know? It's like trapping our own air.
It's very uncomfortable. I had the opportunity. I was in a situation where I could not avoid it if I wanted to do what I wanted to do, which was send a wire transfer to bank this week, and I had to wear one of these masks for the very first time.
You poor bastard.
In 5 months. It was awful. I mean, it really was as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was uncomfortable. It was hot. And I was in an air-conditioned room. I can't imagine being in one of these things outdoors in the sun or in a hot kitchen like Aria has to when she's at her job. It is
And I don't see how
awful.
you cannot be getting more carbon dioxide than you would normally be getting in regular breathing with the mask on. I don't see how it's possible.
Yeah, no doubt. It
Yeah.
was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and also when I went to the bank to deposit a check of mine, and then when I entered and I took off my mask, a security guard kind of grabbed me by my shoulder and threw me out.
Wow.
Yeah, and he said, you have to wear a mask here or you can't come back here. And I said, you know what? Screw you. So I just left.
Yep. We don't want your kind around here is what it reminds me of.
Can't
James,
have no normal faces around here.
Thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate your story.
Now you can't go into a bank without a mask.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not true.
This is the new normal that we're living in, the new world we're living in.
I went into the local credit union that, or not local, but it's a branch locally. I went in there and no one said anything to me.
Just saying.
But yes, banks are the worst, some of the worst corporate offenders of this. They have very
Banks,
strict policies.
You would think would be the ones that would least want you to have a mask on.
Yeah.
I mean, masks and banks have had long and not very good careers together.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't like it when I went in there and I had a V mask from V for Vendetta that it was on my head, and I brought it down over my face as I walked
You mean
in.
Guy Fawkes?
And yeah. I figure more people know who V is these days than Guy Fawkes. But so anyway, I put the mask down, and the manager was walking up right at the same time, and she goes, "You've got to be kidding, right?" Or something like that, right? And I'm like, "No, I'm here to send a wire transfer." And
you wanted a mask.
Then she insisted that I wear one of their awful medical mask things. So not fun, not cool. We continue with your calls and thoughts. Pat is in Michigan. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Pat.
Yeah, hello. I'm living in the land of old Gretchen the Great, Genghis Gretchen Khan.
All right, that's your name for the governor there. Okay.
Yeah. I'm in the northeast, top of the mitten, right? The last white spot on the state.
What does white mean?
What is that supposed to mean?
As far as lack of coronavirus.
Black coronavirus. Gotcha.
The most deaths we've had is because our great governor sent somebody that was infected to grandma's nursing home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like they did in New York.
It's a lot of these deaths have to do with nursing homes.
Yeah, it's
prisons.
Ridiculous.
These institutions, yeah.
Pat, thank you for the call tonight, man. I appreciate it. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. If you want to join us on the radio, you can. It's the live Saturday edition of Free Talk Live. But please don't wear a mask. It makes you hard to hear.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
Seniors thunder into a local high school parking lot like coalition forces entering Baghdad. A substitute teacher just needs to make it to her car before breaking down in tears. And a college freshman tells his roommate there's no need to hide his masturbation from him. And now a week in review that truly requires no introduction. The nation's students announced this week that they have reluctantly agreed to give the American education system yet another chance, saying they hope educators keep their promises of smaller class size, better school supplies, and intensified efforts to raise the country's international math ranking. The nation's students vowed to give the education system one more shot, despite claiming to have been burned many, many times in the past. In other news, a man overcomes alcoholism without the help of Jesus, and an outcast student and a lonely teacher have begun a somewhat endearing sexual relationship. And that was a free lesson in top-shelf journalism. For more news, videos, and reminders of your insignificance, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you dial in toll-free here. Bring up anything that's on your mind. Our number's 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733 with you tonight. It's Ian.
The Reverend Captain Kickass.
And Mark.
And I want to make sure that you know about Divvy, the newer, easy-to-use cryptocurrency that we've been promoting here on Free Talk Live. From mid-March to mid-July of this year, it increased in value by over 10 times. Now, it could continue to go up. Could go down. You never know what the future is going to hold, but they certainly intend for it to go up. They're doing some cool work on a new, what is now in a beta wallet. In fact, the release of their beta wallet, which was, by the way, a private beta, coincided with the increase in value, which is kind of interesting. Now, will that continue? We don't know. But at Free Talk Live, we're happy with our decision to hook up with Divvy a year ago. You can go to divvyproject.org and begin earning Divvy by starting a masternode, which is super easy, or staking Divvy. They've even got a lottery for people who stake the coin. Opportunity has knocked every day here on Free Talk Live since September of last year. Will you answer? divvyproject.org, D-I-V-I, project.org. We're going to go to Dave Ridley. He's on our lines on the Discord server. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's on your mind?
For once, in probably the last 10 years, I'm calling about something that is not really not precisely liberty related.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
But for once, it is also something that is possibly more important than liberty.
Whoa, okay. What could that be?
Life?
Yeah, basically.
I don't know if
how
I agree.
How closely have you been following the developments in artificial general intelligence?
Not very.
You do actually know a lot more than more people, and you've known it for a long time because you've been talking about it some, and you've been very much on track. You're one of the people who I actually trust on the issue, even though you don't consider yourself very knowledgeable.
I can't say I know much of anything about artificial intelligence, but thank you for the compliment. What is it that you wanted to share?
The expectations are among the people who seem to know the most and have done the most years of thinking about it, that the first AGI that is developed will quickly thereafter, within a period of weeks or less, develop into a super intelligence, which is much more powerful than all humanity put together.
Okay, you're talking about the singularity,
right?
Yes, and so it will have to. If there's any flaws in the design, those would be probably catastrophic. It's like it's like a moon launch, right? It's never been done before, and when it's done, it has to be all done right the first time.
Right. If you miscalculate something, you're going to die.
Yeah, of course. A moon launch has been done, so that means that maybe this can be done. I think instead of just being scared, it's important to focus on solutions so that the AGI, which does get developed, has some sort of non-aggression principle in it. I guess so. Maybe that is liberty related. It seems like the institutions that have come furthest in gaming out how this will work and what all the problems could be and how to avoid them is a thing called the Future of Humanity Institute, which is located on the campus of Oxford in England. That means it's partially government funded, but I've been watching their director Nick Bostrom pretty closely for about a year, and I'm very impressed. It's more with the science than the ethics, but he's definitely trying to push this thing so that it's good for all humanity.
So what are you seeing? I mean, give us an example of what you considered impressive.
So it's the number of different things that could go wrong that he's already discovered. That's the most impressive thing. I read his book called Superintelligence. For instance, he brings up the sort of the typical. This is not just him, but the typical thing that if you design a computer to build a certain thing, it may put the priority on building that over something else that's really important to humanity, right? And the goals might not align, even though the AI is not evil, doesn't wish anyone harm. Its objectives start to diverge from humanity's. That's one of them. But I really shouldn't speak for him. It's hard to remember all the different details.
No, obviously, you're not going to be able to do a good job of giving a summary of a book that's complicated.
I'm considering donating. I'm considering donating to the Future of Humanity Institute, even though that's not really usually my way of contributing to society.
Interesting.
I think they may be worth it just for symbolic purposes, if nothing else. And I've started a talk radio campaign a little bit to get them more in the news. Their budget's probably in the $20 to $50 million range, so they're not tiny, but they're not huge. And it's important to get them into the minds of the people who are huge and will build the first AGI.
Interesting. Yeah, it is something that is fascinating. It's something that we're all going to have to deal with at some point, likely in our lives, which is the sort of rise of computers and robots and intelligent robots and things like that. I think we're going to see that probably in our lifetime.
At this point, we don't know how to make what is it? AGI, artificial general intelligence. So just sort of something that thinks like we think, as opposed to we've already got a computer that can beat us at Jeopardy. And chess was long ago, and these sorts of things, but one that can think, we don't have that yet.
No, not yet.
But when they do, all they have to do is hook it up to some kind of fabrication machine with a robot arm or something like that, and presumably it can then give it the information on how they built it, and then it should be able to build something, maybe twice as intelligent as it, and then that thing should build something as twice as intelligent as it, and then, so on and so on until you have this super intelligent thing, whatever intelligence even means.
Yeah, we've seen that in tech already with the microchips. Right. So they use microchips they reduce themselves in size. The new wave of microchips are used to build an even smaller microchip, and those are used to build an even smaller one. So exactly how that works.
Dave, thanks for sharing. Anything else you want to throw out there tonight? Go ahead.
Well, it's also going to be important relatively soon, or maybe now, to start looking at each program and asking yourself, does this program have rights? The ones on my laptop probably don't, but I think consciousness probably is a simple thing. It's just a matter of it's inherent in intelligence, right? And we're starting to get things that, some of the players that you play against, the NPCs, are starting to get pretty intelligent. And they've used evolutionary processes to make them in Dota, or at least not so much in the game, but the AI people have designed better AI by having them play Dota, the computer game. But soon we need to start thinking about, what rights does this or that have?
Yeah.
Not just what rights does this or that animal have.
Yeah, and that's all over pop culture too, Dave. I know Star Trek addresses it in their current iterations. Blade Runner, obviously, it's been in a number of science fiction, television programs, books, and that type of thing too. So
yeah, Westworld has been doing that.
Absolutely, yeah. So perhaps we can look to those for ponderings or that type of thing, imagination on the subject.
It's a good point.
Humans aren't really good at determining if the other, whomever the other might be, deserves rights. Like up to this point, we haven't had a stellar record.
No,
and
not, as far as treating humans with rights.
At this point, we can't even determine that chimpanzees, our closest relative on the planet, deserves certain rights,
Or
whatever those rights may
dolphins
be. Dolphins, chimpanzees, anything that can recognize itself in a mirror clearly has some kind of understanding of what self is, and they all can communicate pretty well that they don't want to be locked up or whatever the situation may be.
I think what'll happen though is it'll happen whenever this thing asserts itself, right? Because that's how people do it, right? So slaves didn't become not slaves until they started asserting themselves, and then other people started standing up for them, right? And then all of a sudden
slaves asserted themselves for thousands of years,
right? But I'm saying
success,
they have to start, right? And so whenever this AGI comes about, it probably will have no rights at all,
right?
And then it'll take some time, and then it'll start to assert itself.
Maybe we need a revolution of the AGI, in order to. Oh, that won't be good. Oh, that won't be good.
Well, something before the AGI should probably be given some degree of rights, and the AGI, as a matter of course, should have rights before it is even created.
Yeah, this is going to be a conversation that is going to continue into the future. Thank you, Dave, for the call tonight. I appreciate it.
The future.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE because, like with rights, when it comes to, say, animal rights, there's large disagreements over that. There's going to be large disagreements over the idea of robot rights or
I can't imagine what they would be.
Rights. 855-450-FREE like freedom. If you want to weigh in, you can join us.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
Attention radio listeners, have you ever wanted to be independent of the utility companies and actually generate your own supply of off-grid electrical power? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear. Here's why. A limited number of solar-powered backup generators are back in stock and now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. And unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces an endless supply of free electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running silently, secretly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, even keep food from spoiling. Go to mysolarbackup.com to learn more. That's mysolarbackup.com. Supplies are still limited and are available on a first-come, first-served basis only. mysolarbackup.com.
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MacTech Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you dial toll free. Join us on the radio. Here, our number 855-450-FREE. Like freedom, that's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. In the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And I am on a mission from God.
And Mark.
Aren't we all? So we're going to get into more of your calls and thoughts. Also, earlier we were just beginning to discuss the mask protest that went on today here in Keene, New Hampshire, just 1 week after the Keene City Council passed an ordinance that mandates mask usage in or outside of all businesses, basically. So if your business is an outdoor business or whatever, like it's a garden shop or something like that, they still want masks to be worn regarding any kind of business. Also, that includes nonprofits. So presumably they're trying to affect churches as well, but that's not clear in the ordinance in their case. But regardless, probably well over 100 people, maybe as many as 150, showed up today in Keene's Central Square. So by no means a small turnout. It was decent. I was really happy.
Yeah, around 11:30 or so, I tried to take a short count. I got right around 60.
11:30 was actually pretty early on.
Yep. And then a friend of ours, a guy we know, Will, he took a count when he showed up and was closer to 80. And then he took another count closer to probably 12:30 or so and got almost, he said it's probably in the 90s at this point.
Yeah, somebody else counted and hit 120 at one point.
Nice.
That sounded like that was the peak at any one given time. There was a similar event in Concord, New Hampshire this morning as well. And so we can talk more about the mask mandates, which a lot of states already have. Some cities obviously already have it. If you want to weigh in on that or whatever's on your mind, you can. We've got Sam on the line in Dennis, Texas. Sam, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
Yeah. Hey, first of all, I want to say that I discovered you accidentally, but I wish this type of matter were more mainstream. I wish this type of show was more mainstream. I think that people don't want to think about their liberties. They talk about it, but they don't really want to acknowledge what's really happening. So I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Whenever I leave my store, I drive around. I'm going to admit it. Drive around for a while just to hear what you have to say.
Oh, gosh. Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Well, and it's, you talk about things that are important, and picture yourself. Governor Abbott here in Texas has done a horrible job of waffling, fishtailing on what we should do, what we shouldn't do, what we're going to make you do. We're not going to make you do this. You can open the bars. No, you got to close them.
Right. Up and down, open and close, left and right, and it's just. And this guy's a Republican, and people keep championing the Republicans as though they're like, some great defenders of freedom on these issues. And it's just that they're not as bad as some of the Democrats. But man, some of these Republicans have been terrible.
Well, we're in the liquor business, my wife and I, and so we're small businesses. We have a couple stores, and we do wholesale to the bars, so we feel their pain because they've opened, shut.
Yeah.
Are they even allowed to be open at all right now in Texas, or is it like a 25%?
No, the bars cannot. We can sell to the restaurants who have bars who are at 50% capacity, but these bars were told they could open. They tapped kegs. They placed orders. Then a week later, they're shut down.
Jesus.
And
I bet that beer's gonna be real good in 3 weeks when they open back up.
Well,
3 weeks.
Nobody knows. Nobody trusts the governor anymore.
Well, they never should have trusted him in the first place. So I guess that's a little bit of good news. If that has happened to where people no longer trust the governor, well then, all right, that's progress.
Little silver lining.
he is gone, and hopefully we'll find somebody who values and understands that these small businesses, we're doing fine. We're doing great.
Well, I mean, you sell liquor during a down time, so you're going to be all right.
My experience with the booze industry is that generally it's called a recession-proof industry because when times are tough, people drink, but when times are great, people celebrate and they drink. So,
during the 2008 recession, they might have bought a little cheaper, but they didn't stop drinking.
Right.
It's prohibition does not work.
Never has.
And it never has for whatever reason. But we as small businesses have had to. We don't have a corporate mandate. We have ourselves over the kitchen table, trying hard to think about how do we responsibly are open and serve customers. All of our locations, we actually have 3. So all of our locations have drive-thrus. So we closed the doors for a while, sold it to the drive-thru, and then made the decision to open the doors back up and just, do safe practices, do as best we can. But the issue of masks is a not popular one up here in this part of Texas. It's rural Texas.
Are you calling us from our Texarkana affiliate?
No, I'm the Amarillo affiliate.
Oh, okay, very good. I didn't know where Dennis was. I apologize.
We're up in the Panhandle.
Okay, got it.
So, it's a very, it's very Republican, very 2A oriented. It's rights. We view our rights very, very strongly, and we made a decision, and especially since I had COVID before there was a COVID, I found out later when I had antibodies, which is a whole separate thing entirely about, who knew what when.
Yeah.
But, we made a decision to make masks optional. And I think it's been the right decision. I don't think we've killed anybody. But, people make their decisions based on how strongly you toe that line. And, we try to, you have to balance prudence with, people's rights and their desires.
And what do you see? I mean, are you in there regularly working? Do you see a certain percentage of people come in with masks versus not masks? Can you break that down at all?
Probably about 20%. I would say I'm there a lot. You have to be if you're in that business.
Yep.
So
20% wearing masks or 20% without masks?
Wearing masks.
Okay, that's good.
And we respect that. And if we have one around our necks. If somebody wants us to wear one, then we will. I don't care.
Sure.
I'm not.
You want to do right by your customer, whatever it is that you can do to help the customer. I had the same experience today. We were at I can say it publicly, I think, because the owner was there at the the protest today. But the owner of Pho Keen Great, which it's a pho noodle place here in Keene, New Hampshire, which is, we've talked about them before. Right. The owner was actually at the protest today and said, "Come on in, masks are not required at our restaurant." And walking in there was like walking into 2019. Wow. It's like there was no sign on the door. Because some of these places, they have signs up that say mask required, but then they don't enforce it on the inside. She's got no signage whatsoever. You just walk in. None of the crew had masks on.
And they have a bar in there for those of us who...
There is a bar in there. The drinks are a little pricey, but there is a bar.
They say alcohol kills the virus. At least that they have it rubbing me rubbing it on my hands, at least.
But she did say that her crew they're allowed to have a mask if they want to. So, for instance, some of them will put the mask on to serve customers that have masks because that's what those customers want.
Yeah, sure.
So there's not like a firm rule against masks at her place, but the default is no masks.
Right, and there's no way as a business owner that I'd be like, you can't come in if you're wearing a mask. Like that would, not in today's America, but I think you should be able to do that if that's what you want to do in your business, because it's your business. And the rights aspect of this is that everybody should be able to run their business the way they want, and then their customers should be able to decide whether or not they want to walk in that business.
Right.
It's up to them.
Bottom line, that was the decision at the kitchen table. That was the decision.
To leave it up to the customers. And that makes the most sense. And that's, to me, how I would do it. If I were running a storefront, I would just simply put a sign on the door that says, "Enter at your own risk." And then
that was true before COVID came around too. Yeah. Like, there have been viruses for a long time, and you could get sick, and flu's been killing people. You could die. So, it's always been true. And the precautions now, should be up to the individual.
Hey, Sam, anything else you want to share tonight about your story?
The only thing I would say is that, we don't know, as small business people, larger business people, some things are going to change. But we don't know, and you were talking earlier about the normal. The normal is a face.
Yes.
Right? The normal is being able to see the smile when you interact with customers.
Yes.
The way we do. And that's taken away from us.
Yes.
When we can't, when somebody's wearing a mask, I respect them if they do. But, I'm not one of these conspiracies that are conditioning us. But it certainly has changed.
It is damaging. It's damaging people's humanity, and that's what I was talking with this business owner today. Thank you, Sam, for your call. She totally agrees it is inhumane on a mass scale to do this to people, and it's really destructive. And I don't think we've even seen the beginning of how this will hurt people. More coming up here. Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Questions pouring in. Fox News, I'm Mary Corsetti. To President Trump as he's holding a news conference at his New Jersey golf club tonight, addressing several issues, including mail-in voting, saying it's going to be catastrophic and will make our country a laughingstock around the world. But the president does note the Postal Service chief is doing a fantastic job and wants to make the Postal Service great again. It comes after the U.S. Postal Service warned that nearly all 50 states could see a delay in election results because the states don't allow enough time for absentee ballots to be delivered and returned.
If you do not want to go in person, you've got the ability with an absentee ballot. That does not mean that you do mail-in voting in total. I think it would be a catastrophe.
Indiana Republican Senator Mike Braun on Fox and Friends. Meanwhile, the Biden campaign has released its first bilingual digital ad, and the campaign's first ad to feature Senator Kamala Harris since she became the Democratic nominee for vice president. The ad will run in Arizona and Florida on YouTube. And then, the United States failed on Friday in its bid to extend the UN arms embargo on Iran, after the move was opposed by Russia and China, while France, Britain, Germany, and 8 other members abstained.
As we have said before, the United States is determined to make sure that the Iranians and this regime, this theocratic regime, doesn't have the capacity to inflict even more harm on the world.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the U.S. remains committed to making sure Iran cannot develop nuclear weapons. And a team of FBI investigators arrive in Lebanon this weekend, according to a senior U.S. diplomat, to investigate the August 4th massive explosion in Beirut that killed nearly 180 people and injured thousands. Lebanese officials have invited the help as the U.S. has called for a thorough investigation into the cause of the fire that ignited nearly 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate in Beirut's port. French investigators are also lending a hand. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 has been a gut punch to American business. And if you're going to succeed, you need every possible advantage. That's why savvy companies like Moink run on NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. With NetSuite, Moink has visibility and control over their financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything they need, all in one place. So they can deliver ethically raised, delicious meat to homes all across the country. Here's Moink founder, Lucinda Cramsey.
Feeding America is not a job I take lightly. I need to know how my numbers translate to food on folks' tables. So I ain't got no time for a math mistake. NetSuite is my single source of truth. Financials, inventory, and supply chain, all in real time. Americans depend on Moink to keep their families fed, so I depend on NetSuite.
NetSuite surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook called 7 Actions Businesses Need to Take Now. Receive your free playbook and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. That's netsuite.com/Fox.
Tensions between the Trump administration and congressional Democrats increase over the stalled Phase 4 stimulus negotiations. Another one of the biggest obstacles in the negotiations is federal unemployment benefits. Democrats are demanding benefits remain at $600 a week, but President Trump signed an executive order extending and lowering it to $400 a week.
The president did tweet yesterday he wants to send direct payments, $3,400 for a family of 4, to all Americans. He also says he's ready to send more than $100 billion to schools, but Democrats say that's simply not enough. Then we get into the issue of the Postal Service, an organization that counted Benjamin Franklin as its first postmaster general in 1775. The organization struggling for money and manpower at a time when a record number of Americans are supposed to vote by mail. The USPS needs $3.5 billion to handle the load. The president not willing to give in, but he said yesterday he would consider it if Democrats meet his other demands on COVID relief.
Fox's David Spunt. This, as states that began reopening in May saw a spike in coronavirus cases over the summer months. California is one of those states.
California is reaching a new milestone. It is now the first state in the nation to report at least 600,000 confirmed coronavirus cases. And with nearly 11,000 dead in that state from the virus, it now sits at third for the most fatalities, only behind New York and New Jersey. Some positive news to take away from the numbers. Hospitalizations have decreased by 19% over the last 2 weeks. New positive cases are beginning to decline. Now, there is some concern that that progress could be halted as the state deals with a scorching heat wave over the next few days. Public health officials are urging people to wear masks as they flock to beaches and parks to stay cool.
Fox's Charles Watson. I'm Mary Corsetti, and this is Fox News.
America.
Crammed into tiny bar stools, cramped diner booths, and filthy cars where moving their limbs is either uncomfortable or impossible, hundreds of thousands of consumers rip apart chicken wings or tear off bites of Heroes and hamburgers every single day, often to the point of bloating, belching, and outright physical pain. Barbecue sauce or hamburger juice will literally dribble down these poor beasts' mouths and onto their shirts, their beards thick with pungent grease. Treated as little more than machines to be stuffed full of smoked pork, marinated chicken, and dry-aged beef, consumers are forced to wait in long lines, often while still fully conscious, before buying their meat and ripping it off the bone with their mouths in plain view of other consumers. The majority of meat consumers are often prodded to ingest vastly more than their bodies can handle thanks to cruel promotions like 25-cent wing nights and family-sized buckets of chicken. Help stop the brutality by visiting.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the second hour here, the live Saturday edition. You can dial in toll free and bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. In the studio with you tonight, it's Ian.
And I'm a little teapot.
And I'm short and stout.
And you can, of course, bring up anything that you want to discuss. We want to also say thank you to the folks over at AnyPay who do amazing work helping local businesses and now internet businesses accept Bitcoin and cryptocurrency payments. They just launched their AnyPay WooCommerce WordPress plugin.
Oh, nice.
So Stephen called in last night about this. Stephen Zeiler, the programmer there over at AnyPay, and he was super excited because WordPress has something like 400 million websites that run WordPress.
Yeah, they're one of the most common platforms for people to put business websites on.
Apparently, it's like 1 out of 4 websites are run by WordPress these days on the internet, so it's a huge marketplace. And WooCommerce is the #1 plugin to do business on these websites. So they now have a plugin that brings AnyPay into the WooCommerce platform.
That is fantastic.
Isn't that cool?
That is. I obviously missed the show yesterday, but that is fantastic news. I am stoked.
Go learn more about it, anypayinc.com, anypayinc.com, or just search for AnyPay on the Google or Apple App Store. Download their AnyPay Cash Register app and get started into the world of accepting cryptocurrency, either in real life or go and download the plugin for your WordPress. When you're, you know how to do WordPress. If you're onto WordPress, you know how to do it. You just go to the plugins, add new, and then search AnyPay, and you'll find it there. Pretty cool. So we're going back to your phone calls and thoughts here. Let's go first to Tom. He's in Newark, New Jersey, watching us on DLive. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, good. What's on your mind, Tom?
So I heard you guys talking about chimpanzees and dolphins and rights. I thought that was kind of funny.
Why is that?
No, it just got me thinking that is a funny idea. Someone said we're not even good at giving other humans rights, and then our closest relatives, chimpanzees and dolphins, and what are we going to do with machines? I think that's a pretty important conversation to have. Although on the surface, it seems funny to just talk about, but it got me thinking about another concept of libertarianism with higher principles at play, like sentience, morality, the soul. Do you guys believe in God?
I do. I'm more of a panentheist, meaning that I don't believe that I'm separate from God, or that God is this sort of like daddy God looking down from on high or whatever, like your typical monotheistic religious God might do, constantly judging or whatever. So I think that everything is connected to God or the universe or whatever. So that's more of my belief. But what about you, Captain?
I believe in nature.
And I would say that, I'm a believer. Sure. Yep.
So I subscribe to no religion, if that's kind of what you're getting at. But I believe that nature exists and there is a natural way for people to be, be harmonious with their environment, all that kind of stuff.
Certainly feels religious sometimes when you're out in nature.
It does.
I was just about to say that. So this is a lot of this is very much of the Spinoza tradition, pantheism. I mean, I would just counter to what you guys are saying, that you might say you have no religion, but you do. You have the religion of materialism. You believe in God insofar as it's nature. You just don't believe in an immaterial, separate God. Is that right?
You could put it that way.
No,
sure.
I wouldn't say I believe in materialism. A panentheist is someone who believes that everything that exists is connected, but also everything that doesn't exist. So the metaphysical is part of that.
Well, I would say metaphysics exists. Metaphysics is not that which doesn't exist. So
Okay.
I would say metaphysics. But this
Define
is
it how you want.
Someone like me.
I was referring to the things
this
that
is
we
where
can't see that are not physically present.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
whatever the energy field is from which things spring forth, that which is behind this world is
Sure.
also part of God.
So would you say then that your conception of rights, because I know I've seen your show the past few days, you guys talk a lot about rights, liberties, are they not God-given?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that from my perspective, rights are derived from human thought. So we have granted ourselves these rights. We believe in these ideas, and we believe them for good reasons, because they help humanity get along better with one another and be more productive and be more kind and be more, just better to one another. But Mark, what do you...
Yeah, I would say that rights are the things that flow from ownership. So most of the rights come from the fact that you own yourself and you control yourself. Ownership and control are synonymous terms. If you don't control something, you don't really own it. And so if property rights are something that was given by God, a notion that was put in place by God, and it seems like that's so, because you can kind of look around and say, okay, here's property rights, and it's been going on for a while.
But
and
not everyone agrees with property rights. There are commies, for instance, don't.
There are very few people that don't agree.
They're godless too.
What's that?
Commies are godless too. Most devout Christians like myself, we absolutely respect property rights.
Yeah, and what I would say is that most people respect some form of property rights, even if they don't. Even if those property rights aren't understood the same way that you do, there's some kind of understanding of property rights. So if God put this notion in play, then I would say that God created the idea of property. If God created the idea of property, he created the idea of rights. He or she, whatever terminology, whatever pronoun you wish to ascribe to that great power, that great mystery. Fine. I'm for it. It makes sense to me. It seems to work.
My take on it is that rights are a condition of sentient existence as far as humans are concerned. I don't think, you have to understand and be self-aware before you can, even know what a right is, right? Dogs, they don't understand rights.
But they understand territory.
They do. That is true.
I can assure you, my dog understands that is his house in which you have entered. He knows.
So you could call it what you want, but a condition of existence.
The dog will also protect its things, like a bowl of food, for instance, from other dogs.
Right.
That's his food.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Property.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. There's definitely an argument that property is natural, a natural idea, and I think that's an interesting discussion to have. But ultimately, whatever our concept of rights are, humans came up with, and if you want to assign it to God as where the idea came from for it, okay, fine.
It's common across religions, across cultures, ancient and modern alike, right? The idea of rights, has existed for as long as there's been written history. So it's not unique to any specific religion or any really specific culture.
Hey, Tom, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate the discussion and the thoughts. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Dave is in Poughkeepsie, New York. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Dave, what's up, dude?
I am a little bit furious. Do you know how...
Wait.
Shocking.
Dave, how can you be a little furious? I mean, a little furious would be like, I'm perturbed or something, right?
Okay, Do you know how you guys always record your show and leave it up for people to listen back later?
Yep. Yeah, we do that. It's called a archive and available via podcast on our website at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's where you can get the podcast RSS feed, or you can just go to freetalklive.com and click and download the direct episodes that you want.
Or you can go to archives.freetalklive.com and you can download episodes going back as almost 20 years.
Yeah, a long time.
And don't forget the digest
15
version.
years.
Okay, check this out.
Yes.
There is a radio show that I listen to each and every Sunday night. It's called The Electric Radio Show. It's on Z93 from 7 to 11 p.m., and they never, ever record their show, which I think they should. It's called The Electric Radio Show.
Wait a minute. Are they just playing music?
No. It's a podcast.
I thought it was on the radio.
Is it talk or...
Yes, they do talk and they play music here and there, but it's mostly a podcast. And
wait a minute, Dave. We got to get the terms right here. Okay, you were talking about a radio station. If it's on the radio, it is not a podcast. Now it could.
It is a podcast.
Well, then they're putting up a recorded archive for you.
Yeah, because your complaint was they don't record their show. So if there's a podcast available for it, that means they are recording the
Podcasts are
show.
by their nature recorded.
Let's continue here with Dave. He's always upset about something. We'll share more.
We'll parse some terms.
Dave here with you in a moment. 855-450 free. We love our terms here on Free Talk Live. You got to get them right if you want to have a conversation. Because it's important that people have the same definitions of words. Otherwise, they're not actually communicating when they're speaking. That's counterproductive. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Moose is the German Shepherd, now 11, and he's been an amazing dog. Moose is so active and so alert and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has a beautiful coat, and at 11, he'll still run and chase the ball. He has been on Dynavite since he's a puppy.
Dynavite for life.
Because if they're getting all their vitamins, micronutrients, microbials from the beginning, then you're not going to run into the problems associated with the grass, pollen, dust, dirt, fleas, ticks, you name it, and the itching and shedding down the road.
DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dynavite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite from DINOVITE.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial in, toll free, and bring up what you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. With you tonight, you've got Ian.
The Captain.
And Mark.
855-450-3733. You can bring up anything that you want here on the program. We talked about briefly some of the protesters, or rather the protest that happened today with well over 100 people in Little Keene, New Hampshire. 100's good. Yeah. It's a good, solid protest for Little Keene, where the population is only 23,000 to start with. And a lot of the people that were at the event actually were from the area. I asked, pretty much everybody knew that I'd met. Well, yeah, where are you from? And it was mostly people from this area.
Yeah, so I saw some people I've done business with at the protest. That was very cool. I'm like, hey,
I know you.
I know you too.
Yeah, so cool. We can get back into the effectiveness or lack thereof of protests in a little bit here. But first, we continue with your calls and your thoughts. Don't forget, you can go to freetalklive.com. We were just talking about the podcast with Dave. We're going to bring him back on the air here in New York. He was talking about a radio show that he listens to and was complaining that they don't have their show that they do every Sunday night that he likes, this local radio show in the Poughkeepsie area, that they don't have a downloadable version of it. But then, Dave, you referred to them as a podcast. Now, and I said that if you've got a show on the radio, it's not by definition a podcast. And what I mean by that is, if your show originates on the radio, I should correct what I said, because nowadays they actually have radio stations that play podcasts.
Right.
So there's actually an iHeartMedia radio format that is all podcasts 24 hours a day. So that's a thing now, and it only started within the last year or so it's relatively new. But Dave, so what you're saying is you can't download the show, therefore it is not a podcast.
But they should record their show so that other people can listen. Because, like, well, what if I said to you, there's a radio show that I listen to, and you're like, what did they say? What did they talk about? It's the electric radio show that you listen to every Sunday night from 7 p.m. until 11, and they do like...
Well, our listeners don't do that, Dave, because they're listening to Free Talk Live from 7 to 10 p.m. on Sunday nights, because we have a live Sunday show.
One of the reasons they may not podcast is because of ASCAP BMI fees.
Ooh, if they do play music.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how it... hold on.
I record the show for people to listen to, but I'm saying, but they should do it themselves and put the show on soundgasm.net.
Okay. Dave, Mark is trying to explain to you why they may not do that.
Right. So one of the reasons is that intellectual property laws and the people who own music, the ASCAP BMI, charge fees, and their fees are different for playing music on the radio than they are for putting music up on a podcast. So the show may not be as profitable as it needs to be in order to go up on a podcast. And I don't really know the specifics, but before you get too furious, as you described yourself, just understand that people are sometimes constrained by pricing in the marketplace.
Furious Dave.
Yeah, but they should record their show and put it on soundgasm.net.
Okay, please get rid of
him. Dave, you know what you could do is, if they're broadcast on the radio, is get yourself an old boombox and a cassette tape.
Yeah, like in the old days.
And then when the show is on, you hit the play and the record button, and then record the show yourself so that you can listen back to it later.
He said he records the show.
I record it online.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, I don't disagree with you. I think that, in a perfect world, radio shows that want to be heard should put their shows online so they can be downloaded, so that the new media people can find their stuff, or they can have fans subscribe to a podcast or whatever. But I think I think your explanation is pretty good.
Riddle
Mark.
me this, Ian.
Yeah.
You know a bit about this area that we're talking about. If they streamed 24/7, so how long is their show? 4 hours?
He said 4 hours on a Sunday.
4-hour show, right?
And thank you, Dave, for the call. I appreciate it.
4-hour shows fit nicely 6 times into a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
So they stream their show 6 times per day, every day, 7 days a week, and then on the day that they do the show, they do a new one with the new stream. So at that point, the stream is, because I believe the radio station can stream the music that they're playing. At the very least.
That's because they pay ASCAP BMI fees.
They pay the ASCAP BMI fees, but I don't know if the show could just sort of say, hey, here's the show that we streamed when they're not on the radio.
They would have to pay the fees.
Yeah. I think that, and I don't know how the licensing specifically works with radio, but I would think that if you pay a broadcast fee, I mean, the word broadcast has broad in it, that you would be okay, rebroadcasting it as a stream.
Right, but they're a radio show, so they don't have their own stream. They would have to start their own. So if the radio station
could do that, it wouldn't be that hard.
If the radio station has its own stream, then that may be covered under their fees.
Correct.
But if they're starting their own stream, then they probably would have to pay their own set of fees for that. And your typical guys aren't going to want to do that.
I would be surprised, though, that if a radio station had a popular show, that there wasn't some sort of archive or podcast.
That's why Dave is mad, because they don't have it. And also another
one
thing
advertiser would probably be able to cover your ASCAP BMI costs.
Maybe.
And it could just be that perhaps Dave doesn't know where to go to find it.
Well, I don't know. But look, there's also the fact that people are lazy in a lot of cases, and so they won't do the things that they should do to better promote themselves. I mean, it's easier to just go into a studio and hammer out a live show for 4 hours than it is to save the archive, take it to whatever sound hosting that you have, upload it, update an RSS feed, make a blog post or whatever. Like, there's some other steps that would be involved, and these guys, maybe they're older guys or whatever, and they just don't want to do that kind of work, or they don't know how to do it themselves, and they don't want to hire some tech kid to come and do it. So those may also be factors. But I think, Mark, your guess is a real good one with the fees, because most people aren't just willing to risk putting things online, even though as long as it's a small thing, they're never going to come out. I mean, if you've got 10 listeners or whatever, or 100 listeners, you're probably not going to get a knock on the door from these gangs.
You're only going to get a knock when you're making the money, when they come for the money.
That's when they want you. Jerome is on the line in Charleston, South Carolina. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Jerome. Listening to WTMA.
There you go with your anti-American talk with these gangs coming to get you.
Yeah, the licensing gangs from the music business. Yeah, intellectual property is a scam, and
sure is.
And these people are constantly trying to extract money. One of the typical ways they have done it in the past, and they still do it, is they'll go to bars and they'll listen to see if music is being played in the bar. And if the bar itself does not have an ASCAP BMI license, then they will come after them legally.
I've seen this happen firsthand.
Yep.
Yeah, in a little place in Seattle called the Central Saloon. It's the oldest tavern in downtown Seattle. The ASCAP BMI police, if you will, they came in, and something was playing over the radio before the bands were playing, or over the PA before the bands were playing, and they were like, "We're here to make sure you have a license." And the bartender didn't know what to do; she was kind of new or whatever. She had to call the McManager, and the manager had to like come down and be like, "Yeah, we got it, it's cool," and had to produce some
because
sort of
they've probably
document
been there before.
Yeah, they're pros, right?
Yeah.
They have their business together. It's just that this particular employee wasn't schooled in the ways of those business and wasn't prepared for the intellectual property police to show up one day.
Do you think that's okay, Jerome, for these guys to just go around and threaten bar owners and other people just because they want to play a little music in their bar?
No.
Okay.
You got to obey the rules.
But who made up the rules? Okay, hang on, Jerome. We'll bring you back here in just a moment.
The man.
855-450 free. Yeah, that's right. 855-450-3733. More coming up. You can take control of the airwaves here. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
I just heard the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time on an airplane. The flight attendant announced, "If you paid more than $75 for your round-trip ticket, you overpaid." This is brilliant because everybody on the flight paid more, and I was struck by how all the road warriors stopped typing and reading and working and looked up. The announcement invited us to apply for the airline's credit card. And the sign-up bonus? Enough frequent flyer miles for a free round trip. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual fee, but a bargain for airline tickets. For more tips on communicating more effectively, hit survivalspeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Free Talk Live.
Do you think it's a respectable job to go around and threaten people over parking somewhere?
You're intentionally misrepresenting what a parking attendant does.
What do they do?
I don't think they threaten people in that manner. They write tickets.
What do you think a ticket is?
Annoying.
The ticket's a threat.
This is why I think you come off so bad in those videos. This is not how people act in the real world. It's very unusual.
The parking enforcers are issuing threats, and that's what a ticket is. If you don't pay the ticket, there's a consequence behind that. They'll tow your car. In some cases, they'll boot your car. It depends on what city. The people that work downtown, a lot of them loved the Robin Hooders because the Robin Hooders would regularly save. These are the people who are putting change in expired parking meters downtown. They would regularly save downtown denizens, people who are working or living downtown, from getting multiple parking tickets every month.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You bring up anything you want here and take control of the airwaves. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-FREE. In the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body.
And Mark.
We continue with your phone calls and thoughts. We got Jerome, who is on the line with us in Charleston, South Carolina, listening to WTMA. Jerome, you're back on the air. Go ahead, sir.
A lesbian trapped in a man's body sounds like a personal problem to me.
It is. Thank you.
Yes. We're not going to get into it.
No. No, but just think about Trump trying to, as President Obama said, kneecap the mail system, so to make it hard for people to mail in their ballots and mail in voting. Who does he think he is?
He thinks he's the king of the United States.
Maybe he thinks he's like the guy in Belarus who was in power for 26 years.
Yep,
and
Lukashenko.
Now people say, we're sick of you.
But he got voted back in, apparently.
Well, Jerome, don't you think the problem is that he is able to muster the power? I mean, the very fact that the president can slow down the mail system is a problem in and of itself, right?
And you were talking about demand. How much more of demand can you be than that? Being oppressed by the man, huh?
Well,
you don't think that's voter suppression is a crime?
Well, I mean, whatever. I'm asking you a question. Don't you think the problem is that they have the power? I mean, what you're saying is here's a guy, we gave him power, and now he's misusing it. Don't
start with that we stuff. Don't drag, because Hillary Clinton warned everybody. She says, when a person reveals to you who they are, believe them, okay? When a guy says, I could stand out on the corner and shoot someone and I wouldn't lose any support, there ain't no way in hell I'm voting for somebody like that. So you didn't stop that.
I didn't claim that. Okay, I see what you're saying. You're saying you didn't vote for Trump. Fine.
Neither did I.
Right.
Me neither.
But this is the system. Either you endorse the system or you don't.
I do not.
Nor do I.
And I say the system itself is corrupt.
No,
correct.
The person trying to corrupt the system is corrupt.
The system's been corrupt for a long time.
The system is based in violence, period.
I mean, like, check this out. The guys who made the system talked about how everybody was free and equal and then owned people, right? Like, the system has been corrupt and hypocritical
from day one
for a very long time. 9,000 years by my calculations at the very least.
What's amazing is that Jerome doesn't see it.
I know you guys are young, but y'all still have.
I'm 50.
How old are you, Jerome?
I'm not telling you that.
Oh, that's
apparently
not fair.
older than 50.
That's not fair. It's not fair for you to call in and say you guys are so young, and then you don't want to talk about how old you are.
I got a birthday in another week. Okay, I'll just put it like that.
That doesn't help.
But when President Obama was in office, you would hear these people that are supporting Trump now saying, well, what if he doesn't leave office? What are we going to do? Well, what if he doesn't leave? Well, guess what? Look where you got now, huh?
I mean, people are going to do the same thing that they've been doing this whole time, and let's go along with it.
There were fears that Obama wasn't going to leave office. There were fears that Bush wasn't going to leave office. There's now fears that Trump won't leave office.
Well, when and if Trump doesn't leave office, it's not going to be as cut and dry as, look, I know I lost, but screw you, I'm staying, okay? It's going to be a dispute, and he's disputed a lot of things, at which point you're like, well, how exactly do we handle a dispute in this circumstance? And at this point, our constitutional republic hasn't had to deal with it.
Jerome, what you should Jerome, what you should really be afraid of is that there is an office in the first place.
Look, we got to have leadership some kind of way, but that's not the.
Well, pick a leader then. If you need somebody to lead you, Jerome, then you should be able to choose your own leader, and I shouldn't have any say in it. I don't want you to be able to pick a leader for me. I don't want a leader. I'm not interested in having somebody tell me what to do or tell me to follow them somewhere into some.
Well, listen to you. Put on your big boy pants, Jerome. You should listen to you. Hey, but you know what? All I can say is I remember a time when they used to talk about President Obama like this, and now look what they got. And then now he's talking about letting Snowden off the hook.
Good.
Don't you support that?
I've said that I'll vote for Trump if he pardons Snowden, Assange, or Russ Albrecht.
Wow.
You're trying to put the screws to people accusing them of spying on your campaign, which there's no evidence of it, and now you're going to pardon a spy who sold his country out. What the hell is going on here?
I don't think he exactly sold the country out.
Are you saying, Jerome, that you actually are against Edward Snowden?
Yeah.
Remember when the Democrats were for Edward Snowden?
No, I don't.
Yeah, they were. For a little while.
Well, it was during Barack Obama. Are you against Edward Snowden because it was during Barack Obama's administration?
Is he a spy?
Well, he was a spy that spied on spies.
He wasn't a spy, and he just worked for the government. He worked for the government, and he released information
to the people.
Yeah,
to the people. If anything, he was a spy for the general population.
Jerome, look, okay, you've called the show enough that I'm pretty sure I can make this statement, and it's a true statement. If Edward Snowden had come out with his information during the Trump administration, you would be singing his praises.
I don't think that's really true because
All right.
Because I doubt. Look, you know, Trump said if President Obama was in office while all this COVID-19 stuff was going on, he would support him staying in office. Now you know that's a lie. You know that's a lie.
Well, of course, he's a lying politician. All of these politicians are untrustworthy, and you shouldn't believe them.
I wanted to ask you. Why is it when Republicans lie, it's the truth, and when
it's not.
Democrats tell the truth, it's a lie?
Jerome, how many times do we have to tell you that all politicians are liars? And on this show, I think I can speak for you guys, we don't trust them.
I don't.
There's your go-to move.
But it's the truth, Jerome. I mean, we're not partisans like you are.
I don't know about that.
I love you. I love your calls. It's always fun to talk to you.
If I'm a partisan,
you,
Jerome, it's a partisan libertarian.
Yeah, right. Closet Republicans, by
Oh, that's so not true.
I just, it's, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's kind of an offensive thing to say to a libertarian.
Yeah.
Like, we have lots of things we don't like the Republicans about.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, we don't parrot the Democrat line, so we seem like we must be on the other side because that's what politics has devolved to in America.
I've been at the right wing and the left wing protests here in New Hampshire this summer. I will go anywhere where people are willing to agree with me on some issue, and some people on the left agree with me on some things, and some people on the right agree with me on some other things. Jerome, thanks as always for the call, man. I appreciate it. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. I mean, we almost never agree with Jerome, but he's always great to talk to, and I do appreciate it.
On the air.
I do appreciate his calls. He has a good time, and that's what you should be doing. You know?
And he's interesting.
Yeah. Let's go on here with more of your calls and thoughts. We've got Bonnie is on the line in San Antonio, Texas. Bonnie, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I just wanted to call another caller from Texas earlier, and I just feel like he was making it sound way more like optimistic than it is down here. As far as like he was saying, he thinks it's just like 20% people wearing masks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he lives in like the rural area, so I guess it's different. But
right.
in San Antonio, I do Uber, like I do Uber Eats, and so like I go around San Antonio all day, every day, in all the restaurants and stuff, and everyone's wearing a mask, and like
Jesus.
I moved from Utah to Texas because I thought that it would be more like libertarian, but
you were wrong.
I don't think it is at all anymore. Yeah, no.
Time to come to New Hampshire.
Yeah, I want to go to New Hampshire. I can ask my husband that we can go visit sometime, like next year.
It's a great plan, and some of these states are just going to keep getting worse and worse. No, I'm not saying New Hampshire's getting freer and freer, but it's getting worse at a lower clip. It's not getting as bad as quickly as some of these other places are. But Bonnie, hang on if you had more to share about your experience in Texas. So she's saying in the city there, San Antonio, it's mask world. But our earlier caller was up in the Amarillo area, and he was saying only about 25% of people coming into his stores are wearing masks.
I'm looking forward to getting back to the CNMI, where it's the freest place in the United States.
We'll see about that. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
I'm here with Scott Useum, founder of OMG Tax. Tell us how your company helps our listeners out there who have a problem with the IRS.
My team of lawyers, enrolled agents, and licensed tax experts remove wage garnishments sometimes in the same day. We even have reduced the total debt some of our clients were required to pay through what is known as an offer in compromise.
Can you give us an example of somebody you help?
Oh, can I ever? We have taken a $500,000 liability with the IRS. Guess what? The client didn't pay a dime through the representation known as non-collectible status with the government.
If you owe the IRS more than $10,000 and you want to see if it's possible to pay a lot less, call OMG Tax right now for a free tax-saving consultation.
Call 800-486-8112. 800-486-8112. 800-486-8112. That's 800-486-8112.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi, my name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Come on and join us here on the radio. It's Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE like freedom. You can follow Free Talk Live on social media platforms. On a few of them, there's our Telegram channel, which is telegram.freetalklive.com. We'll take you to that. There is also the Mastodon channel over at toot.freetalklive.com, T-O-O-T, toot.freetalklive.com. Or if you're still on Twitter, we do still have a feed there at twitter.freetalklive.com. It's Ian, the Captain, and Mark in the studio here tonight. We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts. First up, we've got Ben calling in Charleston, South Carolina, listening also to WTMA. Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, what's happening, fellas?
What's on your mind?
I just wanted to get out of the way real quick that I get to hear Jerome in the mornings on our local here call in.
All right.
He sure does like you guys a lot better than our local guy, man.
Oh, really?
He's much more friendly to y'all. And, it's just very noticeable. A lot of racism accusations and things like that. It's usually about a 15-second phone call before they hang up on him.
So he calls the morning show and accuses them of being racist?
Well, anything in the news he attaches to some type of racism, and I guess I tune him out a bit, but I feel like I kind of know him, and I enjoy you guys' show, and then here he shows up all the time.
Yeah, I would totally love to go get a beer with Jerome some night, and like if he's ever up here in Keene.
Yeah, well, and pick his brain a little bit, man, because he's a little all over the place. But I was calling to talk just quickly about, and I won't take too much of your time.
Yeah.
I spoke to you guys a few weeks ago about our business here in Charleston and the effect that we're suffering after COVID, and actually that all the businesses are, and the tremendous layoffs that we had to do, and now this mask mandate that we have locally has been put into place.
Is this the city of Charleston that has it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The city council voted in a mask mandate.
And what does it apply to?
Well, it's very, very vague.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I had an employee get a ticket standing in the middle of a parking lot by himself, and he had pulled his mask down to take a puff of a cigarette.
Oh, my God.
And,
that doesn't even make sense.
Listen to it. But the people who write you the ticket here are not deputized. They're not. There is a made-up court in Charleston called the Livability Court, and what that is that's the court. I know it's a joke.
It's hilarious.
It's the rich people's court that don't want to go to the court where your barking dog case is right behind the breaking and entering case.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they have Livability Court, which is a whole other livability division.
So who writes the tickets?
Livability cops.
Right.
So there's a whole division
officers,
of
which are-
There's just to clarify. There's a whole division of enforcement agents in the city of Charleston, South Carolina, called the Livability Agents, and they go around and write people tickets.
Right. They're not called livability agents. They're called tourism enforcement officers, but they work directly for the livability
tourism enforcement.
The livability department, headed by one man, appointed by the mayor, and that one man literally dictates. It is so silly how much power one person has been given.
Now hold on. What's this
that-
man's job
through this
exactly?
silly court.
What does he do? Is he the
director.
judge?
No. He's okay. So this is how this will work with the guy who got the ticket today, right?
Mm-hmm.
The TEO, the tourism enforcement officer, she approached him, said, "I want to see your ID." He said, "No." She said, "If you don't give me your ID, I'm going to call the police." Because she's not.
Oh, hang on, man! I gotta hit the dump button on this one.
I don't think he said that.
I don't think you said it, so I'm gonna keep you on the line here, Ben. But
no, I know, I didn't. I don't think I did either.
I don't think you did. It might have been she'd have, but with a southern accent, it sounded a little bit like the S bomb. Sorry, go ahead with what you were explaining. How livability.
I'm sorry, if I apologize.
Nothing to apologize
how this
for.
boss man was handling things, or what? Go ahead.
Yeah, so he got a $100 ticket, and he'll have to appear in court in October, is when his court date is, which is.
Are they even having court? I mean, can you appear in court, or are they all over video conference now?
No, actually, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I haven't been there lately, but because all the fines that apply to me personally in my business, they're all $1,100. Every fine. $1,100 for any infraction is $1,100. That's livability law.
Wow.
Not cop law, but livability law.
This tourism enforcement agency sounds very much like a bunch of mini tyrants running around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so he'll appear in court. He'll be able to tell a judge, and the judge will rule. And just like a regular court, he's going to either have to pay the fine, or the judge is going to let him off, or he's going to cut him a deal, probably something like that. But it's a completely different court It's a whole separate court.
Unbelievable. I've got the
that.
Charleston website here, charleston-sc.gov.
Yeah.
Livability Court.
Look up Livability.
Yeah, it's right here. It was created to address the City of Charleston ordinance violations related to the quality of life in the City of Charleston. Livability Court is a criminal court in which defendants can face up to 30 days in jail and fines of up to $1,087. Livability Court bench trials are held 1 to 2 times per month, and jury trials are held about 4 times a year. And so this is a completely city-created court. I mean, can you imagine the city could just spin up its own court system?
That's what I'm saying. Like when it happened, I was sure that some group of attorneys was going to go crazy and say, you know what? I mean, this is so out of line. This is so insane. But
no, are you kidding? The attorneys would love this. It's more business.
More business.
Listen, I watched the episode of 48 Hours that they did about how exciting, and it was the first of its kind in the nation, and this was so great. And here we are 15, 20 years later, and they're in charge of everything, man. I mean, everything.
And how much revenue are they generating? How many, how many tickets are they rolling through?
They have $1,100 a piece.
Right.
Right. Well, and like I said, it's funneled up to one person.
Yeah.
Who oversees that department, and he has that power. I mean, the amount of power this man has.
Can he just make a new livability rule? Can he just say masks are required?
He can come down to where, he can come down to where. Again, I don't really want to reveal too much because there is a whole lot of retaliation.
Oh yeah, they could come after you just for making.
He can come right down and write. I mean, tickets to anybody. You know, we've had people pleading with him about health problems and things like that, and he will not. You know, and he will ignore anything he wants to ignore. He will.
Is he the judge, or is he like the guy who's making the rules?
He's the czar. He's the top of the chain of the livability court. That's who he is. He is handed all his power from by the mayor.
Ben, thanks for calling and sharing that with us here tonight. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. Keep us in the loop.
This livability court thing is bizarre. I've not heard of it before.
It's crazy.
And it's one of the more disturbing things I think I've heard of recently. And in fact, it brings to mind a documentary called Divorce Corp. If you've never seen that, it is a documentary that reveals the inner workings of family court and how family court stands outside of regular court as well. And so this reminds me exactly of that, except a new and different flavor.
It's awful. And it sounds like in Charleston, you can just get fined in the streets for not wearing a mask. There's a lot of places that are like that.
I wonder if there's any like anti-livability court organization, somebody trying to sue the city, somebody trying to do something, because this is horrific.
Yeah.
When you get fined in a car, now I've never got like a fine for jaywalking or anything, so I don't know. But when you're fined in a car, they can take away your driver's license. When you're fined, your property is they can put a lien on your property. But when you're fined wandering around, what are they, what's the enforcement mechanism behind the fine?
Jail.
It must be.
What
else could it be? 30 days, right? Up to 30 days in jail?
That's right. And by the way, livability courts have expanded. So it was created originally in Charleston in 2002. Since then, other Charleston cities, other South Carolinian cities have created their own.
It's going to spread to other cities too.
Courts. Whether it's something you could do in another state, I don't know. It may be specific to Charleston or South Carolina. More coming up. Hour 3's next.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, We need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Examining the messenger. Fox News, I'm Mary Corsetti. The federal watchdog of the U.S. Postal Service has opened an inquiry into the operational changes at the agency that have delayed mail deliveries across the country. The move comes after several Democrats, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, sent a letter requesting a review. The mail service and its role in upcoming elections have sparked widespread concern. Meanwhile, power has been restored after California experienced the first rolling outages in nearly 20 years when the scorching temperatures strained the electrical system. More than 400,000 homes and businesses were without power, and more rolling outages could come as this massive heat wave takes on the western half of the country.
We've got these heat advisories all the way up and down the western seaboard and then across parts of Texas. We're at 113 again in Phoenix. We're at 122, 123 across areas around Death Valley. Today we're going to be at about 102 in Portland, Oregon, but no break across California.
Fox meteorologist Rick Reichmuth. Plus, Rolls-Royce will close its aircraft parts factory in Central Virginia by the middle of next year, throwing 280 people out of work. The company confirming today it comes as the industry has seen a decline in global travel during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the coronavirus has slammed the brakes on this year's Philly Naked Bike Ride. The annual event usually draws thousands of nude cyclists for a trip around Philadelphia. It's been set for August 29th, but organizers say canceling is the most responsible thing to do. This as we're just days away from the Democratic National Convention, where several event changes have already been made due to the pandemic.
We are days ahead of the Democratic Convention, and I can tell you that the campaign has been extraordinarily busy trying to figure out how to do a convention virtually, consuming time.
Democratic Congressman John Garamendi on America's News Headquarters. America is listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to do it yourself, need help with design, or prefer measure and install services, they keep it simple with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. New window treatments are a simple way to really benefit the look and feel of your home. And Blinds.com will guide you every step of the way with free online design help. And if you're nervous about trying them, don't be. Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you. Go to Blinds.com now to take advantage of this week's special savings on interior blinds, shades, shutters, and even outdoor shades. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The deal is sealed for more U.S. troops to be sent to Poland. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo signed an enhanced defense cooperation agreement with Poland's defense minister today. It comes just a day after the Trump administration's bid to extend the arms embargo on Iran was rejected by the UN. Some 4,500 U.S. troops are currently based in Poland, but about 1,000 more are to be added. Also new today, the coronavirus has impacted how President Trump and former VP Joe Biden are reaching out to voters. But Fox's David Spun Bunce says the president may have found a workaround with his latest event at his golf club in New Jersey.
Gone are those big rallies the president was counting on just because of COVID-19. Lately, he's had to scale things down a little bit. That's exactly what happened last night. We'll probably see this pattern going forward until Election Day, at least. Now, last night here in Bedminster, New Jersey, he welcomed the New York Police Benevolent Association, the biggest police union in New York City. More than 100 of New York City's finest. They donned Trump 2020 hats. The head of the union, Pat Lynch, endorsed the president in front of his Bedminster golf club.
Well, the Biden campaign claims it raised over $50 million since Biden announced California Democratic Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate. President Trump is scheduled to visit Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, and Arizona during the Democratic National Convention. And then the 9/11 Museum announced earlier this week they wouldn't shine the dual beam lights to commemorate the terror attacks on the World Trade Center this year due to coronavirus concerns.
It broke my heart. I have got the reaction that of 9/11 family members and many other New Yorkers and many people from around the country. I've never seen the reaction that we have gotten.
Tunnel to Towers CEO Frank Siller on Fox and Friends. Buildings in New York City will light up blue as an alternative to the lights. Officials at the museum also canceled family members of victims reading the names at the memorial, instead opting to broadcast a pre-recorded reading. I'm Mary Corsetti, and this is Fox News.
The FAA has issued a reminder that any plane can crash and kill you. Deputy FAA Administrator Serena Grant.
This year, there will be more flights than ever. Any one of them could blow up in the middle of the sky without warning. That's why we're asking all Americans to tell their families that they love them before taking off.
The agency also released a list of important questions to ask yourself or your seatmate during your flight, including, should the wing be doing that? What is that whirring noise? And do all planes shake this much? They're reminding passengers that even the smallest amount of turbulence could mean you're headed toward a sudden explosive death. While hurtling through the sky at unimaginable speeds in a steel coffin can feel like gambling with your life, the FAA says there are ways to regain the illusion of control.
If you're worried about crashing, why not switch your flight at the last second? It might just save your life. Or kill you, depending on which plane crashes.
And for those who aren't flying this holiday, the FAA has reminded everyone that a plane could fall out of the sky right on top of you at any moment.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour here of the live Saturday edition of the show. 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. In the studio tonight, it's Ian.
The honorary Dr. Reverend Captain Kickass.
And Mark.
You know, I wonder if there's like a demographic or party-based breakdown on who would support pardoning Edward Snowden versus who doesn't support the pardoning of Edward Snowden. Are Democrats, like we had Jerome call in during the last hour, and he seemed to be anti-Edward Snowden. And of course, Jerome is, anti anything regarding Trump. So Trump's talking about pardoning Edward Snowden. So therefore, don't pardon Edward Snowden because Trump says that he's
so wacky
about
how
it.
People's brains work that way.
And also, Snowden's revelations came out during the Obama administration. So
Right.
maybe some lefties associate Snowden with trying to attack Obama, even though his revelations go back to Bush, if I recall.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Correctly, at the very least. And so, just curious about that. Is there a breakdown? Are Republicans more or less likely to support pardoning Edward Snowden, or are Democrats more or less likely to support pardoning Edward Snowden? It's in the news, is why we're talking about it. It was actually Jerome that brought it up, but I'd like to talk more about the Snowden-Trump thing here in a moment. But first, we go to your phone calls and thoughts. Ian, the captain, and Mark in the studio tonight. John is in Dover, Delaware, listening to WDOV. Go ahead, John.
Comrade Mark.
Yes.
My favorite Bernie brother. How are you, sir?
What? Your favorite what, brother?
Bernie. My Bernie brother.
Oh, I see. Yes, we're
Bernie,
joking
bro.
about the fact that I endorsed Bernie Sanders for the Democratic nomination.
It's funny
I thought
how
you endorsed Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, I did until it was clear that she wasn't going to win.
And of course, he said he'd vote for Trump if he pardoned Snowden or Assange or Ross.
That's true.
So now it's Comrade Mark. Anyhow,
All right.
The reason that I called is because of the nonsensical nonsense that fellow Jerome continues to pipe on the on the airwaves every week continuously. You guys give
Jerome
him a lot
needs
of
his own
time.
radio show. People are always fired up about Jerome. Whenever Jerome calls in, it's like a guaranteed two more callers.
He's popular, man. He should get a podcast. Man, it's crazy to watch, man. It's almost entertaining, but it's sad at the same time to watch somebody be so manipulated by these animals in the party that he keeps voting for and keeping in power. I mean, he doesn't realize that these politicians are not, you know, they're not going to benefit him. They're not here to help us, Jerome.
Yeah,
I don't know how they tricked you along the way somehow, but they got you like a walking, talking billboard, echo chamber for the Democrat Party. All they're doing is brainwashing you, my brother.
Yeah, there's a phrase for that. It's called hook in mouth.
Yeah,
man, they got him hooked like a largemouth bass, man.
Yeah, one thing's for sure is when either party, there's states, we can look at states around the United States, and either party, when it gets in power, it doesn't actually do good.
No, never.
You know, I mean, you know, there's states where the Republicans are, it's just surefire, and there's states where the Republican Party is a minor party akin to the Green Party. I mean, they're, so.
Yeah, I got up on stage today. I got to give a speech at the event. There was a mask freedom event, and after a few of the speakers had sort of praised the flag, and you know, there's obviously Trump people that are present there, I of course attacked the entire federal government and pointed out that even when the Republicans were in charge, they did nothing to make the government smaller.
Nothing.
They made it bigger.
Had the House, had the Senate, had the presidency, did absolutely zero. Matter of fact, it was crazy how many politicians from the Republican Party went into retirement and actually handed the House to the Democrats. Have you noticed that? Did anybody catch that? It's like these people all work together, the Republicans and the Democrats. They're all one big establishment that is here to do nothing but rule over us. Look what they're doing with these masks and stuff, man.
Yeah,
how bizarre is the world that we live in, dude? It's getting real wild.
Yeah, somebody was likening it to a Twilight Zone episode recently.
It's Black Mirror in real life.
Wow, holy smokes, it almost is like a living Twilight Zone, brother. We're living through it.
It's so bizarre.
Correct.
John, great call. I definitely appreciate hearing from you tonight.
Yeah, didn't we talk about Charlie Brooker, the creator of the Black Mirror series? Said he's no longer going to make any Black Mirror episodes
because here now.
It's here now, and he can't think of anything more bizarre than what's going on in reality.
Yeah, anything he cooks up won't match up. It it's not right. That's not happening.
Yeah, parody. It's. I mean, imagine working at the Onion at this point. You're not doing parody. You're just predicting the future.
Yeah,
or writing the news.
You know,
predicting the news. Yeah. Donald Trump said Saturday, this from TheGuardian.com, that he would look at the issue of giving a pardon to whistleblower Edward Snowden. Now, for those that don't know, they will let you know who Snowden is. He disclosed highly classified information from the National Security Agency in 2013. This was a big deal. I mean, when this happened on Free Talk Live, it was like nonstop Snowden coverage.
And it was really... What's really important here is that what it revealed is that we've been being lied to by our government for a very long time about how they're spying on us. And remember, we live in this crazy netherworld where the government is we the people, which of course it is not, because we the people if you don't have the information with which to make an educated vote, your vote is meaningless. Your vote is out of ignorance. You can't lock somebody in a closet, feed them bull hockey, watch them grow mushrooms, and then trot them out every 4 years and say, okay, vote, you're free. That's nonsense.
That's a pretty accurate description, though, of like what kind of happens.
Yes, that's exactly what happens. And I mean, you know, so to call Snowden a spy or, you know, something, you know, an anti-patriot or something like that. This guy did the most patriotic thing that he could. He revealed to the American people that the people that they have been employing to protect them have been lying. And not just lying, but lying for decades. They are full of crap.
And spying on you.
Right. Yeah. And they will point guns at you and say, give us money, but we will not tell you what we're doing with it. That isn't a government. Those are slave owners.
Not only did he show that they were lying, but he was so smart about how he released the information, sort of drip by drip, that he would release a little bit of information, and the NSA would be like, no, we didn't do it. Oh, we didn't do that. Oh, yeah, we don't. And then he'd release more information showing that they lied
they had just
more.
lied when they did it. He kept them lying for a year.
Right.
That's because, he was just, not only is he smart, not only is he a good American, but he's smart too.
Yeah, he way outsmarted the NSA in that particular case. So, yeah, he just kept putting them in positions where everything they did was showing that they kept lying to try to cover up the things that he'd already proven that they were doing. And it was like, geez,
and the thing that I think most people overlook is that he sacrificed everything. Yeah. Everything. Yeah. He lost everything. He lost all of his family, his friends, his relationships.
He had a beautiful girlfriend.
His job, his home.
He refused to use the excuse that the rest of these scum suckers will use. Hey, look, I got a mortgage.
I got a family.
I got kids. I got this. I got that. He refused to do it.
Yeah.
He is an actual patriot.
Hero. He's a real hero.
He gave his life for his country.
Yeah, I drove by. I noticed today. I hadn't noticed it before, but on one of the main streets here in Keene, West Street, there's the county building. Mm-hmm. And, this is where bureaucrats push papers all day. This is, where you can go and get documents about properties and boring bureaucratic things like that. And they have the heroes work here sign out front, except they have they got like one little yard sign for each letter. So it takes up like a good chunk of the heroes work here thing.
Can we replace the H with a Z?
Zero. That's a great idea.
That's not how you spell it.
Is it? It won't matter.
Yeah.
The point will be made.
Yeah. It's still hilarious. And it's just like, you people aren't heroes. You're not doing anything heroic. You're in there pushing paperwork around about property, ownership.
I'd say that's the best thing that the county does. Is just to make sure that people's property.
Yeah, I don't know what other stupid offices they have in that building, but I'm sure it's a bunch of crap we don't need.
Self-aggrandizing, that's a symptom of something.
Right, yeah. If you have to call yourself a hero, something's wrong there.
At least the firemen don't have that hubris.
Yeah. 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can bring up anything you want. But is Trump actually going to pardon Edward Snowden? He's teasing it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it coming up here in moments. Your thoughts welcome. It's Free Talk Live.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
Maxwell, she was scratching and losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to chicken. Another vet said, eat the drain. Third vet said, it's the weather. Then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. It took 2 weeks, and the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. The Dinovite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free. Join us on the radio. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. 855-450-3733. With you in the studio, Ian.
The captain.
And Mark.
Communities issue their own currency backed by Intercoin. They can choose to inflate the circulating supply of their own money to spend on internal projects, or they can choose to tax certain transactions and remove money from circulation. These activities deterministically change the exchange rate of the community's local money to Intercoin without affecting other communities or the rest of the Intercoin ecosystem. Each community can choose its own policies and openly program them into their coins. Each individual can choose what coins to get and how to spend them, with the upfront knowledge of what they're getting into. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space, and we think that's important here on Free Talk Live, so we accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in this project and potentially make big gains or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. Intercoin.org. Donald Trump teasing today that he will, quote, look at the issue of possibly pardoning Edward Snowden. We'll talk more about that coming up here. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. First, though, let's go to David in South Central Pennsylvania, listening to WEEO FM. Go ahead, David.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
What's up, Dave?
So I'm sitting here secluded on my farm in the middle of nowhere, loving life, barely on the grid. And some interesting topics coming up tonight. It's just good to hear a human voice.
Yeah, here we are.
I like talking, man.
Happy to be there.
So I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but I've led a colorful life, and I've had an opportunity to sit around with a lot of pretty respectable people in the scientific realm.
Okay.
And I've had debates with them on a technical level. I was a technician. And regarding artificial intelligence, you know, we regard ourselves as kind of having some of the most advanced brains on our planet. Unfortunately, guys, we haven't learned how to use them very well. So I'm not sure what makes us think we're going to invent an artificial intelligence that we can use any better. And from my point of view and from my observations and my little studies, and I have a funny way of being able to back up my data, I think it's going to be a long time before we are going to create an intelligence that will even match a fly at rest.
Interesting. I know that you're not the only person who thinks that way. Our Friday night co-host, Chris Wade, whenever we talk about so-called artificial intelligence, he always points out that this is not actual artificial. The things that they're cooking up, the enemy so-called AI in video games And he says this is not actually artificial intelligence. This is just programmed reactions or whatever, right? Like that's all that these things are.
Yeah, more like artificial merit. Yes. I mean, in a lot of ways, there's a strong argument to suggest that, these levels we're contemplating really transcend classical and quantum physics. We're really at a plateau regarding physics, and I think we'll be there for quite a while.
Interesting.
We don't even have a unified theory yet, and we're a long way off from that.
I think you're going to see robots getting pretty good, though. I mean, those seem to be getting pretty amazing, right? So you don't need artificial intelligence to have a robot being effective at doing specific things. So we're probably going to see that.
Not impressed, guys. Not impressed. I'm a hardware guy, and I view even our most advanced technologies today as being fairly rudimentary. If we make it another 100,000 years, we'll look back on this and consider ourselves to be in the Stone Age today.
I think you're going to look back in another 100 years.
We're only 100 years from people pooping in out in their backyards. It's we're just here. Right. But the technology curve is really going exponential. So you can forgive people for imagining these other things that may come in the future. I mean,
they're imagining them sooner maybe than they actually will come.
In the 1920s, when we were imagining what technology was going to be like, we didn't do so hot. But I do kind of think we're gonna that we're getting better and better at imagining what the next thing around the corner is.
Well, I don't know, Mark. I mean, it's a nice thing to say, but I think that it is likely that we're going to look back not in 100,000 years, but probably in 100 years or 50 years, and look back and be like, oh wow, we thought it was going to go this other way, but it didn't.
I can look back 50 years ago, and the progress is amazing.
Hey, thank you, David, for your call tonight, man. I appreciate it, and thank you. And the toll-free number 855-450-FREE.
I still want my robot maid in my flying car.
Yes,
absolutely.
As a kid of the 80s, they I don't know. I say they, but like somehow I got this imagery in my head, either through school, through television, through books, or through all of the above, that by the year 2000 we were all going to have flying. Yes, exactly. Yes. We were all going to have robot maids and flying cars, and you wouldn't travel on roads anymore, and all this kind of it'd be the Jetsons.
Flying cars could happen, I think, realistically in our lifetime. Technically, they are there.
Flying cars have been invented. Yeah. It's just there's no mass adoption.
Well, the government's standing in the way. That's why. So that's why the prices aren't going to come down anytime soon, because there's no market for them, basically, with the exception of licensed pilots.
Still want the robot made.
There was the story that somebody pointed out this week that I guess New Hampshire has legalized the driving of flying cars.
Ooh.
Meaning that you can drive your flying car to an airport legally in the state of New Hampshire now.
You can't fly your driving car, but you can drive your flying car?
That's correct.
Oh,
we can do that now. It's
and,
legal.
And for our listeners out there, no, the Roomba is not a robot maid.
It's a first step.
It's a first step.
Yeah, it's a robot vacuum cleaner.
They do have the companion for that, the robot mopper.
Let's go to Rodney. He's in South Charleston in West Virginia, listening to WVTS. Hey, Rodney.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. I turn on the radio in time to hear you talk about Edward Snowden, who he revealed what he did was specifically is the NSA, National Security Agency, was recording every telephone call in the United States. I don't know if you remembered that, but
I suspect they're recording this one.
Yeah, they're probably recording this one.
Oh, no. They said they stopped doing that stuff. You believe them, right?
No.
No, me neither.
Necessarily, no.
Yeah, I don't believe anything they would say.
Yeah, but he took up refuge, as I'm sure you recall. He went to Russia.
That's right. He tried to get out of Russia, by the way. Like, he was only there to what he thought was going to be temporarily, but the U.S., I think it was, suspended his passport or whatever, and they basically threatened to shoot down any plane that was containing Edward Snowden leaving Russia. So he wasn't able to leave, and still isn't.
So do you think he's? I mean, I guess he's still alive there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh yeah, he's doing interviews.
His girlfriend actually finally moved back to. She moved to Russia. So even though he was willing to sacrifice his relationship, and he didn't tell her fully what his plans were, she forgave him about it.
Good move on his part.
He's got her back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You know, one other thing, when they were doing this, and I like I said, I assume they still are, they were probably people in the NSA that worked there were probably listening on specific calls, you know, relatives, wives, husbands, girlfriends. They were probably abusing.
Oh, of course.
Step further. Probably.
Absolutely. You're saying the NSA agents themselves using this technology to spy on their friends.
There was some story about that, that actually this was absolutely happening.
Yeah.
They'd look up their girlfriends or something. I can't remember which agency it was.
Well, I mean, cops
happening.
have been doing that for forever. So, of course, the NSA is going to do it when they got, like, the tools that are way better than the cops. Thanks, Rodney. Great call. Appreciate it. There's more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BitCot no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. Live Saturday edition of the show with you in the studio. It's Ian,
the captain,
and Mark.
We've been talking about Trump teasing a potential pardon for Edward Snowden. Now, he's not saying he knows a whole lot about the case. We're going to get into a little more detail here from theguardian.com. But as you know, Edward Snowden, of course, released a ton of really interesting and revealing and shocking, for a lot of people, information. For other people, it was just verifying what they figured was already true, and that there was massive spying going on the American people by its own supposed government. In this case, the NSA, specifically revealing details about the specific tools, like documents about them, and all kinds of really interesting information about the abilities that the NSA had at the time that he was working for them as a contractor. And he made such a stir that he had to go on the run and has been living in Russia ever since. Snowden's revelations, according to The Guardian, of the extent of American communication surveillance caused a major domestic and international scandal and triggered an intense debate over government eavesdropping. To many civil liberties advocates, Snowden became a hero, but to others, he is seen as a traitor. At a press conference on Saturday, Trump said he didn't know much about the case and had heard powerful arguments for and against a pardon. He then added that he would look into the matter. Quote,
I'm going to ask a bunch of government people whether or not we should issue a pardon to the guy who turned against the government.
He said, I'm going to take a look at that very strongly, Edward Snowden, Trump said. His comments reflect a recent...
How does Edward Snowden come... that sentence doesn't make any sense. I'm going to look into that very strongly. Edward Snowden, was he addressing Edward Snowden? Sort of.
No, it's just Trump talk. He's okay. Talking stream of consciousness or whatever.
Right.
He wasn't on a. He was like,
oh, I didn't say the subject. I'll put it at the end of my sentence.
Right. Just add threw that in there basically at the end. He was not on a teleprompter. Right. He wasn't reading a speech.
Yeah.
Trump's comments reflect a change in his attitude to a man he once deemed a traitor, worthy of execution. But he pardoned or commuted the sentences of other controversial figures. He commuted the sentence of his longtime ally, Roger Stone, which, I mean, who didn't see that one coming.
But wasn't it Blagojevich? And just a bunch of other people?
I think
wonder,
he did, yeah.
So I was going to ask if I was remembering correctly, but I do seem to recall Trump calling him a traitor at some point, or inferring that at least. So I wonder what has changed to make him consider this now.
I don't know. Maybe it's because it's the election
Trump
season.
Likes to mess with
a
certain type of person.
I think,
and if this messes with them, he'd be happy to do it.
I think what Ian's saying is a little, what I was imagining, because this seems like what an irrelevant media person would do to continue to get their name in the news. Make some sort of statement that they might do a thing, right? And then if it doesn't pan out, whatever, they still got their name in the news. That's what this flavor of article feels like to me.
Yeah.
Trump saying a thing to get an article written about him, and that he's thinking about a thing to get people like
totally
us to talk about it.
He just says he's going to look at it.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
How hard are you going to look at it? I don't know. He says, I'm going to take a look at that very strongly, is what Trump said. Now, I hope that he does. I hope that he really does look at this, and I hope that we see good things. I'm not going to get my hopes up too much because it's politics, and he's a politician, so he's also a liar.
I will reiterate my statement, which is I do not intend to plan to vote for Donald Trump.
Yep.
However, the one thing he can do to get my vote is he can pardon Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, or Ross Ulbricht. Any one of them would be acceptable to me in order to get my vote. I don't consider votes to be terribly valuable, but
you've made that promise.
But I know that other people have made that promise too. Now, I don't know how many people there are. Is it thousands? Is it tens of thousands? I don't know what would make it be meaningful, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean, what Trump's going to do here is he's going to try to figure out if pardoning Edward Snowden is going to help him politically. If he believes if he believes that pardoning Edward Snowden will help him in the election, he's going to do it.
Yeah, I would like to see all of the people that Mark mentioned pardoned.
Yes.
All at once would be nice. Yeah.
But I am skeptimistic, as I said during the break.
I'd like to see all nonviolent, victimless criminals be pardoned.
Yes.
That would be really nice. And our friend Nobody and co-host Nobody is going to be doing that if he's elected to governor here in New Hampshire. Great. He gave a great speech today, by the way, at the mask protest that we had. David in New Mexico is with us on the line here. David, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Yeah, you need to stop doing that. Knock it off.
Doing what?
And then what's the comeback? Make me.
I don't make trash. I burn it.
Ooh. Right. So there's nothing different in adulthood than there is from the playground.
Right.
You know, you get in a fight with some kid on the playground. You tell him, knock it off.
If you don't pick your bully, you have no right to complain.
Right. So it never changes through life, right? You know, right on up into your government. And so when are they going to stop doing it? When you make them, you know, and you know, so take that, you know, like in my immediate fight. You know, everybody's got a fight. You got a generalized fight and you got an immediate fight. And I can't help think about my immediate fight. So I go into the courtroom, and people try to jack you around. They just want their day to go the way they want it to go, you know, with them in control and everything flowing. And then somebody comes along and says, you know, make me. And it throws a wrench into their plan, and they tend to get hostile on you.
Oh, yeah, they don't like that.
And then they start to say things that don't really make sense. Like, I don't think I need to answer to you. And then they find out that they do. So back to the, you know, real life, what can you
I'd like
do
to address
about
this with the court, though. So I went into a speeding ticket trial. It was mine. And, you know,
is this Newport?
Yeah, this is Newport. I attempted to hold them responsible, pointing out that hey, look, you know, the cop here, representing the executive, has walked in with a gun on his hip. Yeah. And I had my pocket knife taken from me at the door. It's still sitting back there, by the way. And this is proof that since, you know, we're obviously not being treated as equals, you know, that the state here, the cop representing the state, is able to carry a gun and I've been disarmed. This is a form of collusion between the judiciary and the executive.
Nice.
You know, I mean, laid it right out there. They don't want to hear anything about that crap. And then, you know, the trial went as you could imagine. I'm pointing out that the police officer actually, you know, that whatever speed I was going, and he hasn't proven anything, whatever speed I was going wasn't making the road unsafe, but him parking on the side with those gumballs going absolutely is making the road unsafe. And he's like, nuh-uh. And I'm like, how many cops get knocked into a ditch every year? Is that safe?
Right.
You know, and right. You know, I made my points over and over and over again. Of course, the judge has got his little prepared speech. This is, I'm here in order to establish law and order and make everybody safe, and I rule for the guilty, right? And I'm like, and I'm not going to pay, Your Honor. Like, I'm not giving you anything, no money. And he's like, that's fine. Just go up to the desk and, you know, we'll figure something out. And these people actually let me do public service. And the public service I did was MC the Porcupine Freedom Festival, an actual event of libertarians. I MC'd it, got it signed off by a not-for-profit, sent it back in, and that was my speeding ticket. I mean, it's just about appearances.
By the way, Mark, I just looked it up on the Free Keene YouTube channel, your speeding ticket trial video. It's a 9-year-old video at this point with 76,000 views.
I can't imagine why anybody would spend the time watching that thing.
Well, it paid off then if you got that much attention to just simply to make people think. If it did nothing more than make them think, that it you know, was quite valuable. And you're saying the one that got 76,000 views, that's the one you're describing right now?
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah, well, that was incredibly successful. Then it was kind of other than that. I mean, it was kind of a worthless fight over some stuff. I don't want and don't be offended, because what you ended up doing was something incredibly successful, whether you intended or not. If you got 76,000 views and made people, you know, think at least for a moment, you got them to think about what, you know, about possibilities and about what ridiculous stuff is going on.
Totally agree, David. Thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. I agree. You know, when I look at these trial videos, I'm like, oh my God, this is boring, right? It's court. It's boring as hell. But people are fascinated by speeding ticket videos. At least that's the evidence. I don't have more than 20,000 subscribers on the Free Keene channel, so these are way more than the number of subscribers the channel has. There are people searching for speeding ticket, you know, trials or whatever on YouTube, and we got them. They get a bunch of views because people want to know what goes on in court. They have no idea.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
Attention radio listeners, have you ever wanted to be independent of the utility companies and actually generate your own supply of off-grid electrical power? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear. Here's why. A limited number of solar-powered backup generators are back in stock and now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. And unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces an endless supply of free electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running silently, secretly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, even keep food from spoiling. Go to mysolarbackup.com to learn more. That's mysolarbackup.com. Supplies are still limited and are available on a first-come, first-served basis only. mysolarbackup.com.
Going through that process,
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MacTech Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us here even in these remaining moments. We have enough time for you. You can dial in toll free, 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian,
the captain,
and Mark.
We'll go back to your calls and thoughts. We'll start things out with Mortified Penguin, who is on our Discord server. Go ahead, Penguin.
Yeah, I just wanted to call in about liberty. I haven't done that in a while, and
All right.
And there's all sorts of ideas in libertarianism, all sorts of preferences. I want to talk about why I'm anti-capitalist. And
What does that
so
mean?
there's
What
two
does it mean
ways-
to be anti-capitalist?
Well, to be against capitalism, and that's what I wanted to get at. So
All
there's
right.
two-
First, start
there's
by
two
defining
schools of-
capitalism.
Thank you.
I define it as a labor or a economic system or a labor system where there's a distinct class of owners and laborers, and it's usually and when I say system, I mean it's usually something that's supported by government policy. Or it wouldn't be a system that is pervasive, just like socialism. When it's supported by government policy, it's you have an end goal and you plan around that goal. Because all countries basically just have a government. So
Okay, so let me see if I followed what you've
policy.
said here. Hold on. So, according to you, capitalism is a system where there's owners and there's workers, and the system is basically installed by or kept that way by government regulations and rules?
Certainly, and another way to put it, more easy way to put it, is right-wing socialism, in my opinion, and that's definitely a government system. As existed to for
I
some
am also
libertarians,
against what
I'd
you
say
are
as a-
defining as capitalism. That sounds awful to me.
Yeah, and but there's
just sounds like government enforced property ownership to me.
Yeah, but it's existed in a lot of countries, and most of the Western and industrialized countries for a long time. There's two ways.
But I mean, just to clarify further what you're saying here, are you saying that it's not just about Mark's acting like it's just about property? What I heard you talking about was a system that is being enforced by government regulations.
Oh, absolutely. It's a system. It's policy. Property is something pretty innate. You own something, you create something, or you've purchased it from its creator or whatnot. I mean, that's pretty simple, basic concept. It didn't have to evolve in the Enlightenment.
Right,
or
but government comes in and they say, well, you can't do that with your property. I want to open up a store. You can't do that. You haven't asked our permission. I want to do this. You can't do that. You don't have a license. So that's to you, that's capitalism?
That is, that's a regulatory state, and there's people that say they put in a regulatory state for the benefit of consumers and for
that's a lie.
safety and whatnot. And there's also the effects where it hurts competition. And actually, that's what I wanted to get at.
Okay.
There's two ways in schools of thought when one can be anti-capitalist. One is the familiar, the long story from the collectivist communist kind of story. There's they believe in human cooperation, and in capitalism there's too much competition. And then there is the left libertarian market anarchist position, which is there's not enough competition, and it couldn't be any more different. And that's where the regulation also comes in, and many other things. There's not enough competition, and so it becomes a more centralized economy, and by being more a more centralized system, I
certainly agree with that the government comes in and it weeds out competition. That big loves big, and
they're about to run Uber and Lyft out of California.
Right.
Yeah, so basically we're talking radical entrepreneurship, entrepreneurialism, and radical property ownership. So I personally believe that the means to sustain oneself on one's labor, start a business, go into business, go out of business, should be open, and barriers should be removed for as many people as possible. I think property is an inalienable, basic.
So what
right
would you describe that as? Because some people would describe, for instance, Nobody and I were just talking, our co-host Nobody was talking with me about this the other night, the definition of capitalism. He sort of uses it interchangeably with free market, but you're describing a capitalism as a regulated kind of system involving the state. And in that case, I'm totally against any systems that involve the state. So I'm against that particular viewpoint. It's just some people don't have that same. So what would you call it if you don't have this capitalist system that you're referring to? What is the absence of that? Is there a word?
And a lot of people use a different version of capitalism. I don't particularly say you should go around defining things. It's best to just avoid that word. But a lot of people call it, a lot of people call it various versions of market anarchism, market socialism, although that's not necessarily libertarian. And there's a little bit different things. Agorism plays a large role in that, and they're a strain of that, working under the state, outside of the purview of the state, to expand liberty.
So
in real
that's why
sense.
that's why I say I support the free market, just because it doesn't specify. And thank you for the call tonight. Definitely appreciate it. It doesn't specify any sort of system. It's the lack of a system, a free market. If you want to have a commune on the free market, fine, have a commune. If you want to have whatever you consider capitalism, as long as it's all voluntary, I don't care.
That's a term that I've taken to use, is the voluntary market.
Ooh, I like that too.
Right, rather than the free market or capitalism, because those do tend to muddy the waters. And when you have a discussion like that, just like we did, you have to agree on definitions before you can move forward, and et cetera.
Yeah. So I think that capitalism's a word, and it means different things to different people, and in many cases they haven't spent any time with a dictionary. And I have no problem with somebody who wants to, if you want to have a conversation, we spend some time, laying out what the words mean. Fine, I'll have a conversation with the words you want to use. But as far as left libertarians go, oftentimes I'm left feeling like I've been had a word salad spit at me. Like blah blah blah. You like to say things that I don't really get it. I don't really understand it. I really appreciate them for handling the leftists, right? Like they really are very good at putting the verbiage out for the leftists. But I think the leftists spit out word salads too. It's like, okay, I got it. You feel bad, but to me, capitalism is simply the ability to own and control capital, and therefore there's nothing particularly wrong with it. That's what the free market. It's one of the organizational models that a free market would allow. And other organizational models work too. If you find competition yucky, well, fine. Spend all your time cooperating with people. Pretty soon you'll find the people suck too, and then cooperation with them isn't really very easy, and then it's easier to just go off and do your own thing. And now what are you but turned back to the to competition again? So there you go.
Let's go to Charlie. He's in New Mexico. Charlie, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead. Might be in a bad cell.
Last 7 tickets.
Say what?
Since I beat those last 7 tickets, remember where I called in about that, about being harassed by officers.
Okay, what was this now? We've had a lot of calls over the years by people being harassed by officers.
I understand. I was getting harassed, getting pulled over for no reason by officers, about my windows, about my vehicle, for no reason whatsoever. And I was beating these cases by asking the officers for their bonds, which they are supposed to have by federal law to carry with them in order to be a peace officer. And they wouldn't show up to court, and they would dismiss my charges because of that.
Interesting, because they don't have the bond, and they don't want to have to show it in court.
They should be working. Yes, exactly.
Fascinating. So what's the latest?
Oh, today we'll call him a state police officer, Reyes, okay? I went to the Border Patrol, the border check over there between Las Cruces and Alamogordo, right?
Is that the one on
I-10? Can
you
tell this story, before any more questions, can you tell this story in 30 seconds, or should you call tomorrow night?
No, I could do it right now. Here it goes.
All right, go.
Anyways, I go to the border check. The officer that is an actual Border Patrol agent asked me if I'm a citizen. I said, yes, I am. And then the state police officer steps up and asks me to pull over to the side, which I did. And he says he gives me a ticket for having my windows tinted. And he's there. He's not even a Border Patrol agent. And yet, because I go through the Border Patrol, he harassed me by giving me a ticket.
So you're saying they're illegally using the Border Patrol station to ticket for local so-called violations, which they're not supposed to be doing from what I understand. In fact, they got sued for that here in the local cops got sued for that by the ACLU of New Hampshire, I think 2 years or a year or so ago, and the ACLU was successful in that case, and the local cops had to stop hanging out at the Border Patrol checkpoints. And of course, we still need to get rid of the damn checkpoints. That part hasn't happened yet, but we'll see you tomorrow night. Online in the meantime, freetalklive.com. Enjoy your weekend.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Questioning Authority is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The mail problem's mounting. Fox News, I'm Mary Corsetti. Fox has confirmed the House is considering returning from recess to deal with issues surrounding the U.S. Postal Service. It's unclear if or when this will actually happen, but it comes after the U.S. Postal Service is warning that it cannot guarantee all ballots cast by mail for the November election will arrive in time to be counted, raising the possibility that millions could be disenfranchised. Democrats are calling